Hello guys and gals, it's me again, TagTheShooter from TagTheShooter Photography. I know it's been a while and I'm back. I wanted to do a video comparing the A9 against the new A7riii in real world situations as I was on a gig. Today's video is going to be me shooting a fashion show, as I do a lot of them in the area, and I wanted to show you guys exactly how well the A9 and the A7R compared to each other with tracking and low light and things like that. I love my A9. I know a lot of people are like, which one to get, which one not to get. And I want to try to help you with that decision in a real world situation. I love my A9. I think it's the best camera I've ever worked on. Until I got the A7riii, I still think the A9 is something to look, something special about it. But of course the A7riii will have that special thing as well too. I know you've all had the unboxings and seen that thing, so I'm not going to do an unboxing and all that kind of thing. But there's one thing I did want to cover from the unboxing that I was very disappointed about. I don't know if anybody ever talked about it, but I'm going to tell you about it right now. You got the nice charger from the same charger from Sony that charges the new batteries. And for some dumb reason, I'm sorry Sony, I love you, but for some dumb reason, you see how long the A9 cord is? You can put the charger on your desk and plug it in on the floor. But for some dumb reason, with the A7riii, they give this itty bitty short cord. That means you have to actually put the charger on the floor to charge your battery. Unless you have a surge protector or one of them fancy desks with the plugs on top of the desk. I thought this was really, I mean, come on Sony, is it cost you that much more money to give me a longer cable? But I'm gonna get off that soapbox. But I just wanted you guys to know that. I thought that was very, ugh. But moving on. The A7riii versus the A9. I love how they compare it with each other because I do a lot of weddings, I do a lot of events. And before, I was using the A9 paired with the camera I loved before, the A7R2. It was a pain using the A7R2 with the A9 after you've gotten so used to all the wonderful new additions to the A9. Mind you, the A7R2 is a fabulous camera. I loved it. I used it for 3 years. Seriously. And it's still a fabulous camera, which I will continue to use, especially since they don't have the Play Memories apps on these two cameras. I'm going to keep the A7R2 unless I get a good deal from somebody who wants to buy it. But I'm going to use the A7R2 to use the Play Memories app, or if I need to record something longer than 30 minutes, I will continue to use the A7R2. But it was a pain to use it alongside the A9. It was a pain to use it before the A9 came about because of all the battery issues everybody's talking about, the slowness of when you take a picture. You had to wait for that mysterious thing to write to the cards and things like that for but they all changed when the A9 came. Now we have the A7riii. While I was shooting this fashion show, and I'm going to show you the images a little later, just a few minutes, about the comparing the A9 and the A7riii. A few things I wanted to point out with the A9 and the A7riii was that although the buffer in the A9 and the A7riii has drastically increased, being that the A9 has, hold on 1 second, let me put a battery in here. Seeing that the A9 and the A7riii has bigger batteries and bigger buffers in them, it allowed you to take pictures, a lot more pictures with the camera, and you didn't have to wait for the images to write to the camera as you did with the A7R. But you still keep in mind that when I was using the A9, I did burst modes. I had to, when I wanted to view the images, I can immediately see the images and flip through them on the A9. But for some reason, we don't all know what the reason is. The A7riii is 42 megapixels. So when I shot multiple images with the A7riii, hold on 1 second, let me take some images here. You write to the camera, but the difference between the A7R3 and the A9, even though I took multiple pictures, let me show you here real quick again. I'm taking the pictures. I can view the images, but with the A7R3, it was very slow trying to view the images. Sometimes it wouldn't even let me flip through these images and view them while it was writing to the card. Some people said, oh yeah, it will let you immediately start looking at the images, but that wasn't really true. So let me show you. So let me show you here what happens with the A7R3. I hope you can see the screen there. I'm going to take multiple images, and then I want to try to view the images. You see, I can't flip through the images and see what I'm looking at, what I just took, until after it looks like it wants to do it, but it is really not doing anything. But as soon as the images stop writing, then I can flip through all the images. Hold on. Then I can flip through all the images that I took. See there? But when I'm writing to the card, you see I went horizontally on the thing, so I can show, I'm going to show you one more time. Taking pictures, I'm going to go from left to right and back, and I want to try to see them images as they write, and it's not letting me view the images. It's almost like it's moving the screen. I'm getting write errors, things like that. That wasn't a big deal because, of course, with the Sony systems, what you see in the camera is what you get. So you kind of know that you already got a good focus. But the problem with the A7R3 is you couldn't do that. So let's try it with the A9. Let's turn this light down a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the A7R3, I'm going to take multiple images and go back. And then I start viewing, and it's letting me flip through the images immediately. But with the A7R3, and it also writes to the card a lot faster. It's letting me flip through the images, but the A7R3 did not allow me to do that. So that's one big difference that I found in the A9 and the A7R3. So the next thing I found with the A7R3 was using the A9. Of course, you have these dials and buttons that the A7R doesn't have. The advantage that I loved about the A7R3 over the A9 is most people was a big fan of the dial, but I pretty much did not have to have these dials because, excuse me, I shoot events in no light concert events like the fashion show. It's completely dark in the fashion show except for the lighting on the stage. So when I wanted to change modes, I could change modes to continuous and to all of the different modes. I had mine set to C3. I can change from autofocus continuous, a DMF, and things like that while looking into the viewfinder or by looking at the screen, and didn't have to look for that dial. But with the A9, you have to turn this dial here, and when it's dark at an event, I can't see this dial. I mean, I can turn the dial and then look at the screen and see if it's on, I'll see if it's on DMF, and then I can turn the screen again. I can do it that way, but when you're using something with a long lens, it's hard to turn that dial and push the button at the same time. I mean, but that's some simple stuff but I like having the A7R3 that I can change the mode and the frames per second and the actual continuous shooting inside the camera without having to see. The same way with the high, medium, and low speed shooting in a single shooting, you have to use the dial, and if you can't see that dial, you have to go by the screen to either turn it and look at the screen to see. But with the A7R3, all I had to do is push to the side here and change my modes that I want without using that dial. So I kind of like not having a dial on the A7R3, but I got used to using both. So them are some of the quick differences between using the A9 and the A7R3 that I experienced. It's a few more, but I'm just gonna go over them right now because I haven't really had the chance to use the A7R3 as much as I wanted to in a situation where I could test, because a lot of the events that I've been in are paid events, so I can't test and switch lenses just for a YouTube video or I had to perform the task for my job. So, but them are some of the things that I noticed between the A7R and the A9. Here is some images from the A9. As you can see, it tracks the woman walking the stage really well. I didn't do in high burst because I wanted to get different steps as the model walked up the stage. But you can see it tracked and hit the focus on each shot that I took. And here's the A7R3. Using the A7R3, the shots were taken the same way with the low speed of the A7R3, and again, it hit every shot. But I did notice with the A7R3 that it did miss some focus on some of the shots, or I can tell that it was slow to focus. But once I hit the shutter button, it captured the image pretty well. The quality of the images are pretty good. These are JPEG straight out of the camera, so I thought they did pretty well. So now I'm going to show you some videos so you can actually see the tracking for the A9 first. So here we go with the A9 video. As you can see, the tracking came in very well, and you can see it was tracking the faces really well on the A9. I mean, every shot was just, every face was in focus by the time they got to the stage. I mean, it was just, it was wonderful. The lighting wasn't that great. It was at 1250 ISO. I think I had about 200 shutter speed, and it looked really well. So I'm gonna let you compare it with the A7R3. Here's the A7R3 video. So see the difference. As you can see with the A7R3, the focus kind of struggled a little bit. As you can see, it was a little slow to focus with the A7R3. They had to be in a little closer. Sometimes it got a little further back. I think I had them both set at f2.8 or f3.5 aperture. So, but the focus got it. The images looked really well, but the focus had to grab it a little closer, a little closer away. But as you can see, the footage was great. Everything really just hit like I liked it, and I thought it was. I mean, it was just an awesome experience with the A7R and the A9, except for the fact that the A9, the A7R3 took a little longer to record to the cards, but I thought the tracking was absolutely fantastic. The images came out great. So I hope you enjoyed the footage that I got from the fashion show. All the photos were JPEG straight out of the camera. The reason why I did JPEG straight out of the camera is because at the time of recording the fashion show, Adobe had not upgraded the software so that you can do RAW files, and I also wanted to see how the A9 and how the A7R manipulated the JPEGs just as is. So the JPEGs were straight out of the camera from the A9 and the A7R, and the video footage was straight out of the camera as well. I didn't do any kind of editing. I didn't do any kind of processing. So you could just kind of see how the cameras manipulated things. In conclusion, I'm so glad that I have the A9 and the A7R3 as a dual system that I will be using on events. Pretty much how I'm going to be doing is the same way I did with the A7R2. Was I used the A9 with the A7R3, and before I used to only use the A7R2 for when I had to use portraits at the end of the weddings or at the end of the show, and I put the flash on board and things where I didn't have to really worry about fast time or first processing, so I just used A7R2 at that point. But now with the A7R3, I will still be using the A9 for majority of the ceremonies and things where I have to track and have to really depend on the fast frames per second. Not necessarily 20, but just so I know that I was going to get great tracking, I'll still be using the A9 majority of the time, and I will use the A7R2 with maybe the flash on board, or anytime I need to use flash, because of course with the A7R2, the flash, mechanical shutter with flash is a lot faster than the A9. But I'm gonna show you that testing. I'm gonna test that out for you on a later video. But I'm gonna conclude here with this, and I hope you enjoyed briefly what I talked about, showed you the comparison between the A7R3 and the A9 in real world situation. Please ask me any questions in the bottom if you want me to test something else differently. please ask me in the comments below. Please use my affiliated links to help support the channel. Thank you for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe for me, and I will be back with you on more comparison with the A7R III and the A9.